Hi, my name is Dimitri Holiday, and this is video 5 of my social issues project. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how to recognize and prevent political polarization in your own life. So this is probably just as, if not more important than anything else I've talked about in these videos, both the why, the impact, because this is what can really change your life. This is what can really help your life. So one of the first things you can start doing to help prevent political polarization in your own life is when you're scrolling on your phone is to react less, to like less posts, to share less posts, to repost less posts about certain political events. By doing this, news sources are going to be less willing to, if enough people do this as a whole, then it will no longer be an effective money grabbing strategy for the media to create these super attention grabbing headlines that falsely portray the political state of our country. Another way to react less to online news to prevent political polarization is to take out the habit of unfollowing news sources that you believe are untrustworthy simply because they disagree with your political views. I'm not saying to listen to information, not at all. Stay away from misinformation. But it is important to be able to recognize the difference between misinformation and someone disagreeing with you. Now, if you stay followed to those news articles that are trustworthy but disagree with you, you will start to tear down your own political bubble, and you will be exposed to a wider range of political views that can help you stay away from political polarization and stay away from that animosity that comes from it. News sources are often slightly biased, so having a bubble would not expose you to the proper amount of diversity to prevent being polarized. So if you get both news sources that are a little bit lean to the right and a little bit lean to the left, they counteract each other and the bubble no longer can be created. Another habit that you can build in your own life to prevent political polarization is to surround yourself and talk to people with a different view than you, with different ideologies than you. If you only ever talk about politics to people who agree with you, what is going to end up happening is this sort of echo chamber where you're just speaking to a wall, essentially. You're just bouncing ideas off of each other. You're having a pass with a baseball say, where if you pass it to someone, it doesn't change. The baseball doesn't learn. You don't learn. Maybe you get a little bit better at throwing, but you don't gain a new perspective. Talking to people about politics and ideologies is important because it can give you a new perspective, a better perspective than what you already have. Being exposed to these other viewpoints, especially coming from the person themselves, can help humanize the problem of political polarization. Part of the problem of polarization is that people see the other side as a bad guy because they don't understand why they have those beliefs. For example, someone from the country is not going to care much about a subway system needing funding. However, someone who grew up in the city, say, and used the subway their entire life, and it was very important to them growing up, is going to be much more passionate about the subway system getting the funding it needs to stay running. Neither side is necessarily wrong from their perspective. Both are right from their perspective. The farms, they don't need a subway system. They don't have one. But a city needs a subway system. It's very important to travel, and it can benefit the citizens living there. It can benefit tourists, many benefits across the board. Now, if the person from the city and the person from the countryside never communicated, they would never understand why people disagreed with them. The people from the countryside would never understand why people from the city valued the subway system so much, and people from the city would never understand why people from the countryside don't understand the need for a subway system. So, a variety of viewpoints that you can get from surrounding yourself with people who may disagree with you on a variety of topics or ideologically can help you moderate your own beliefs so that you stay away from being polarized. You can stay closer to the center, or you don't even have to stay close to the center. You can be able to understand why people think the way they do. Understanding how people think the way they do can also help get rid of political polarization by working backwards. When you understand someone, when you know someone, it is a lot harder to have that prejudiced animosity that political polarization creates. And so if you get to know the person, you are much less likely to have an animosity towards them because you know them as a person. You know in their mind they are right, and in your mind you're right. And it's not because they're a bad person, it's because they have a different background than you. Now, another solution to political polarization is to institute a ranked choice voting system in the government elections. Alaska already sort of uses a form of ranked choice voting. Essentially, what happens with their voting is after an election, when they're counting the votes, if there is not a nominee with a majority of first place votes, then they have this elimination system go into effect. The nominee with the fewest first place votes is eliminated from contention. But when the ballots are submitted, there's not just a first place. There's a first place, a second place, a third place, and so on, going down. The nominee who has been eliminated, they take their ballots and then they go to the second choice. And those votes now count as a first choice for whoever the second choice was. They continue this process until a nominee with the most now has a majority of first place votes. This can be effective because it's not just whoever thinks has the most support for I'm the single best, they're the single best. It is a gradual choosing of maybe they're not the best for most people, but they're the second best for many. And overall, that can help fill the void created by political polarization. It is also important to keep in mind that if it's not done correctly, it can produce even more polarized outcomes, but that's only if it's done incorrectly. If it is done correctly, it can help combat political polarization and get politicians to be more willing to accommodate a wider range of solutions or a wider range of problems. Another style of ranked choice voting is consensus-based, where at the end of the election, they count up not just the amount of first place votes, but the amount of total votes to find which nominee has the most total support from the entire population. This can help prevent polarized leaders who are very extreme to one side, because if they're very extreme to one side, they'll get a lot of support from that side, but they'll get almost none from the other side. This means that the extremists will get a lot of support, but at the end of the day, they won't win because they only get strong support and they get no other support. And someone who is willing to accommodate both the right and the left, which will help combat political polarization, will end up winning. Maybe neither of them see him as the best, but being seen as the second best for both sides ultimately is the best for the country as a whole.